The orbital drop was silent, elegant, typical of the Galactic Scout Corps. Their craft pierced Earth's upper atmosphere, like a blade slipping through silk, unnoticed by satellites or radar. Not that it mattered. Earth's technology was laughably crude to Lieutenant Cowrix. He sat hunched over his bioscanner, tapping through data with a casual arrogance. The planet barely registered as a Class C intelligence cradle, one species with nuclear weapons, still grounded on their own rock, still squabbling over water and borders. No interstellar reach, no galactic standing. The Council had only sent them to catalog species samples and confirm no violations of the Biodiversity Preservation Accords. The scout team consisted of 5: Cowrix, mission lead and xenobiologist; Vreen, systems engineer; Tallow and Irix, field security; and Saren, linguist and anthropologist. A balanced team, standard protocol. They had touched down just north of what the locals called Hunter Zone 17, a wide, forest-choked region left untouched by human development, even as cities sprawled around it. The humans, oddly reverent and quiet, had warned them not to go in. "We avoid the zones." The translator drone had rendered the humans' warning flatly. "Stay clear of the tree line by dusk." That's not fear, that's survival. Cowrix had laughed. Saren did, too. "My dear biped," she'd said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, "we've mapped neutron storms. We dissect stars. I think we can handle your backyard wilderness." The human didn't respond, just gave them a look, distant, hollow, as though they'd already died and didn't know it yet. Now, on the forest edge, the scouts set up base camp. The trees beyond stood impossibly still. No birds, no insects. That silence struck Vreen first. "This place is too quiet," she muttered, scanning the canopy. EM interference is minor, but thermal readings are scattered. Cowrix barely glanced up. Primitive jungle flora. Maybe some radiation pockets. Nothing anomalous. Tallow checked his weapons diagnostics. "I don't like how close that village is. If they see us cross the boundary, it might spook them." "Let them be spooked," Irix growled. He adjusted his armor's exoplate. Humans are superstitious. They name things like Hunter Zone because it makes them feel brave. "Hunter Zone," Saren echoed, smirking. What a name. Almost poetic. Do they expect wolves with laser rifles? Or just more of their charming paranoia? They all laughed. Even Vreen cracked a smile. The team entered the zone at midday. The transition was instant. Temperature dipped 4 degrees. The light dimmed though cloud hadn't thickened. Something about the canopy geometry refracted sunlight oddly. Shadows pooled like spilled ink, static and heavy. Saren began recording cultural impressions. Entering Hunter Zone 17, she narrated, voice calm, professional. Early human surveys report disappearances dating back 3 centuries. No confirmed wildlife surveys exist. No atmospheric disturbances found. Yet locals avoid the perimeter with ritualistic consistency. Ritualistic? Cowrix echoed. They leave offerings at the edges sometimes. Trinkets, pieces of tech, even food. A peace offering gesture common in pre-contact societies. Indicates mythic belief in the zone as a sovereign or inhabited space. Folklore. Classic. Cowrix sighed. Let's move deeper. The sooner we log this, the sooner we can leave. But as they pressed in, the silence intensified. There was a pressure in the air, not wind, not gravity, but something heavier. Emotional, almost. Vreen's scanner began to glitch. Not fail, just flicker. Blips came and vanished, like ghosts. She frowned, recalibrated twice. Still no stable readings. I'm getting inconsistent biosigns, she said. Nothing coherent. Might be microfauna or something jamming passive sensors. Tallow paused beside a tree. This bark's been clawed. Deep gashes. Wide spacing. That's not rodent or insect damage. Could be a bear, Irix offered. Or one of those big cats the humans have. Cowrix rolled his eyes. You think a planet this primitive has anything we need to fear? No one answered that. By late afternoon, they found their first anomaly, a clearing with no flora. Perfectly circular. The soil inside had been scorched long ago, but the edges bloomed with thick moss and flowering vines, as if the forest respected the boundary. Maybe a human fire, Green offered. Not this old, Calric said, crouching to analyze the ash. No carbon isotope pattern matches any known industrial burn. It's ancient and isolated, like a blast without origin. They moved on. As dusk crept closer, an edge slithered into the team's banter. Saren's commentary turned quieter, more clipped. Iric stopped cracking jokes. Even Calric's, ever the skeptic, felt a chill when a patch of fog slipped to the roots ahead. Despite no drop in temperature, the silence had become unbearable. No scout had spoken in 10 minutes. Then came the sound. A cry, long, low, unmistakably human, echoed from deep within the trees. Everyone froze. Local villager? Tallow asked, gripping his weapon. No settlement in sensor range, Green replied, voice tight. The cry came again, this time shorter, closer. Calrix activated his comm, unknown source. Possibly mimicked distress signal. Could be a feral human, maybe a wild child. Don't be ridiculous, Saren said, though she looked pale. This forest is sealed. Humans don't come in here. I think something else does, Green whispered. The sun vanished beneath the horizon, and shadows stretched unnaturally across the forest floor. Calrix checked his chronometer. They'd timed their departure for sundown, just to disprove the myth. Now, for the first time, he wondered if that had been arrogant. Another cry echoed, this one from behind. The team turned as one. No one was there. Calrix looked at each of them, saw the fear settling in their eyes. Not panic yet, but close. We leave now, he said. No one argued. They turned back toward the camp perimeter. The trees had shifted. There was no path, no marks, no visible tracks. And the last cry they heard didn't sound like a scream. It sounded like laughter, and it came from very, very close. The path they'd taken and was gone. Trees loomed where open trail had existed. The undergrowth was thicker now, woven together like knotted veins, green and dark and wet with sap. Even the soil felt different, softer, spongier, as if it had absorbed something it couldn't digest. Calric stared at a scanner, which now showed static and flickering white lines across the display. No map, no orientation. Just noise. We're not lost, he muttered, more to himself than to the others. It's a distortion field. Environmental quirk. Organic interference. Environmental quirk? Green hissed, brushing aside a branch that snapped back like it had muscle. That's your explanation for vanishing trails in a mocking voice. Could be sonic projection, Saren offered, though her tone lacked conviction. Some species mimic for defense. Birds do it. Earth has a few documented examples. No birds here, Iric said, eyes scanning the darkness as he kept pace. No bugs. No tracks. Nothing but us. And we're not alone. Tallow walked at the rear, rifle raised and eyes wide. He'd gone quiet since the last scream. Not the one that sounded human. The one that hadn't. He kept glancing upward, like he expected something to drop from the canopy. Calric's motioned for a halt. The team clustered in a small clearing where moonlight barely filtered through the leaves, everything silvered in eerie illumination. We need bearings, he said. Reboot equipment. Establish triangulation. No signals bounce out. Green said, I've tried 4 protocols. Everything dies the moment it crosses a perimeter, like the forest eats it. Saren knelt, brushing her hand over a root that pulsed faintly. The humans said to avoid dusk, she murmured. We crossed over on purpose. Mocked their warning. And we'll unmock it once we're out. Calric snapped. This is a pocket biome. That's all. We need to maintain composure. Document. Extract. File the report. Then something growled. Low, deep, close enough to vibrate the ground beneath their boots. Irix raised his weapon, stepping in a slow circle. The growl faded. Another answer from behind. Tallow turned. Nothing. Still nothing. Then a click. Mechanical. Rhythmic. Do you hear that? He asked. Everyone nodded. The sound moved from tree to tree, like something pacing them. Then the trees began to creak, not from wind, but from weight. Something heavy, shifting just out of sight. Calyx's voice wavered. It's trying to intimidate us. Well, it's working, Vreen muttered. A burst of motion, fast, silent. Just a flicker on the edge of their lights. A branch swung down behind Tallow, barely missing his head. He spun, fired. Plasma scorched bark and lit up the clearing, but hit nothing living. They ran. Instinct overwhelmed procedure. Training evaporated under primal terror. They fled through tangled roots, ducking branches that seemed to shift and reach. The forest closed behind them, always behind, never ahead. After what felt like hours, they collapsed beside a massive fallen tree. It split the earth like a scar, roots twisted skyward, a natural barricade. Iryx leaned against it, breathing hard. What in the void was that? We're not dealing with animals, Saren said, pressing her back to the bark. This forest isn't natural. It's curated. What? Calyx blinked at her. It's designed, cultivated, engineered to trap, to isolate. Everything responds to us. Tracks vanish. Sounds follow. Pads seal. This isn't just predation, it's play. Predators don't play, Calyx argued. Some do, she answered, voice hushed. The ones that aren't hungry. The ones that hunt for joy. Tallow stood again, rifle sweeping the area. Then why haven't they struck? We've seen nothing clearly. No heat, no visuals, no contact. They're watching, Vreen said, crouching beside a patch of dirt. She brushed away soil to reveal a small object, a skull, humanoid but elongated. Not human, not known. Calyx leaned in. That's not from Earth. No, she agreed. But it's here, and it's old. Look at the gnaw marks. The edges of the skull bore parallel grooves, etched deep, uniform, like teeth, but far too many. Another sound broke the silence. A voice. Help, anyone, please. It was Tallow's voice. He turned to the team, confused. That wasn't me. Play back. Iryx asked. No, Vreen said, scanning. It's directional. It's coming from that way. She pointed into the trees. The voice echoed again, closer this time. Please, it's behind me. Help? But Tallow stood right there. I'm going to look, he said. No, Calyx barked. It's bait. Tallow hesitated, torn between logic and instinct. His face paled. It sounded just like me. Saren whispered. It's learning. Calyx felt the air shift again. Colder, like breath on the back of the neck. His body tensed. We move. Now. No light, no sound, single file. We follow the roots until we reach the riverbed. From there, we circled to the drop point. They moved in silence, but it followed. Never directly, always parallel. They'd glimpse it sometimes, a silhouette with two long limbs, moving low, too fast, too smooth. It never revealed itself. It didn't have to. When they reached the riverbed, the air changed. For a moment, Calyx believed they'd made it. The sound of water flowed steadily. Moonlight returned. The world felt real again. Then they found the remains. A half-crushed comm drone lay shattered against a stone. The blue markings were unmistakably council issue. Bits of armor, galactic scout gear, littered the gravel. Calyx knelt beside a fragment of helmet. A name was etched inside, Lieutenant Jiro Taves. That's impossible, Iryx whispered. That mission was 80 years ago. No record return, Vreen said. Saren looked around the trees. They never made it out. Behind them, the forest groaned in a third growl, low, layered, and not quite organic, rolled across the river. This time, no one argued when Calyx said, Run. Iryx didn't scream when the thing took him. One moment he was covering the rear, his rifle steady, his boots crunching the shale. The next he was gone. No flash, no blood, no sound except the soft rustle of something massive moving unnaturally fast. Vreen spun, mouth open, scanning the trees. Nothing, just a quiet trickle of the river and the low wind through warped leaves. He was right there, she whispered. Her hands trembled against the sensor grip. I saw him. I saw him. Calyx didn't speak. He just stared into the trees, his mind parsing possibilities, trying to flatten chaos into data, but nothing added up. No footprints, no trace energy, not even a drop of displaced air. Irix hadn't been taken, he'd been erased. Move, he said at last, his voice low and brittle. We stay in motion. Green, how far to perimeter? She shook her head, recalibrating her scanner. Readings are useless. The terrain loops, like the space is folding on itself. Saren crouched by the riverbed, her fingers brushing something under a fallen branch. A box, small, rusted, sealed tight. She cracked it open. A data core, human-made, very old. Calrix knelt beside her, brushing moss from the surface. This isn't scout tech. No, she agreed. This is civilian architecture. Analog shell, secure latched, estimated 200 years old. She connected it to her translator. The device buzzed, screen flickering. Then a voice broke through, static-laced, male, tired, deeply human. If you're hearing this, you found our mistake. We called them night breeds. Bio-enhanced predators, born in the gene wars. Designed to adapt, learn, mimic. We thought we could contain them. We failed. They hunted the containment team in 37 hours. When we realized they could use our voices, we sealed the zone. We buried the records. We warned the locals to never return. If you're hearing this, the voice broke off. A scraping sound followed. Then laughter. Mechanical and wrong. Saren shut it off. So this was a myth. This was classified fallout. Engineered? Vreen asked, stunned. The humans made this? They survived it, Saren replied. We may not. The laughter returned. Not from the device, from the trees. Tallow raised his rifle. That's my voice again. No, it isn't, Calrix said. It's wearing it. The forest rustled, every leaf trembling. Not wind, motion. Shapes shifted in the shadows. Just hints of them. Long limbs. Joints bent the wrong way. Gleaming eyes, unblinking and low to the ground. Then one stepped out. It wore the armor of Irix. Twisted, ripped at the joints. Plates hanging like broken teeth. Its body was too thin, stretched, skinned in some kind of glistening membrane that pulsed faintly. Its mouth was wrong, too wide, too still. From it came Irix's voice. Lieutenant Calrix, we should not have come. Saren stumbled back, nearly falling. Tallow opened fire, bolts of plasma streaking through the clearing. The figure moved, not dodging, just vanishing. Vreen swung her rifle wildly, catching something flitting between trunks. Too fast to track. Split and converge on fallback. Calrix barked. They ran again, but it was different now. The forest wasn't simply chasing. It was herding. Each step led them deeper, until they found themselves in another clearing. Circular. Perfect. A ring of bones encircled the center. Human. Alien. Ancient. And at the center, one figure stood waiting. Human. Unmoving. No, not human. Tallow advanced, weapon raised. Identify. The figure didn't move. Only when he stepped into the circle did it raise its head. It wore his face. Every scar. Every freckle. Eyes wide and dead. The mimic's mouth opened. Help me, it said in Tallow's own voice. It's behind me. Tallow froze. The mimic lunged. He fired, but it moved too quickly. A blur of flesh and metal and darkness slammed him to the ground. Blood at the leaves and a soft splash. A final breath wheezed from his lungs as his own voice echoed from above him. Cruel and curious. Calrix grabbed Vreen and Saren. We go. Now. They didn't run this time. They withdrew, slow and silent, using the terrain, ducking low. The mimic didn't follow. It didn't have to. They were two now. Out of 5. Breathless. They collapsed hours later in a shallow ravine. The stars above blinked faintly. No wind, no calls. Just them, just the dark. Vreen sat beside Calrix, blood on her collar from where Tallow had landed. Her eyes were glassy but alert. They play with us. Mimic hunt. Learn. Saren nodded. And the humans? They locked them in here. Didn't destroy them. Couldn't, Cowrick said. Not without risk. So they created myth, fear, and it worked for them. For us, he didn't finish. Then came the static pulse. An emergency beacon, old scout frequency, 10 kilometers northwest. We try, Vreen said. One shot. If it's real, we evac. If not, then we're already dead, Cowrick's finished. The two of them stood, turned to Saren. But she was gone. No scream. No rustle. Just absence. Cowrick stared at the ground where she'd sat, then at Vreen. They said nothing. There was nothing left to say. They turned toward the beacon, knowing it might be real, knowing it might be bait, knowing the only thing worse than being hunted was being remembered. And behind them, the forest laughed. The beacon pulsed steadily, faint, unwavering, almost mechanical in its indifference to the carnage surrounding it. Cowrick and Vreen crept through the ruins of what must have once been an outpost. The structures were skeletal now, swallowed by vines and fungus, rusted beams twisted like melted bones. Decades of decay layered over a hasty abandonment. Everything reeked of desperation, of the kind of retreat made under duress. But the signal was real. They followed it to a tower, half collapsed, its upper levels leaning against a massive tree whose roots had cracked through the foundation. A cracked solar dish turned lazily above them, though no sun filtered through the canopy. The beacon blinked at its base, small and almost pitiful. "This isn't an extraction node," Vreen whispered. "It's a decoy." "No," Cowrick said, crouching beside it. "It's a marker, a warning, broadcast just strong enough to lure anyone foolish enough to come looking." He tapped the casing. It was covered in scratches, letters etched by hand. Human letters. Buried them here. Burn what we could. If you're reading this, get out. Vreen swallowed hard. No transmission uplink? He shook his head. No relay. Just this loop. Suddenly, a light flickered above, a flicker that didn't come from a beacon. Something had moved on the third level of the tower. A silhouette, quick and quiet. Vreen raised her rifle. Movement. Cowrick stood slowly, gesturing her to hold fire. "Wait!" The figure stepped into view. Saren, her uniform torn, face smeared with dirt and blood, but it was her. She moved sluggishly, one hand gripping a steel beam for balance. She looked down at them, mouth forming silent words. Then she vanished again. Vreen turned sharply. "That's not her. That's not possible." Cowrick's heart thudded. We left no trace. No blood. No sign. Either they took her fast, or it's playing again, Vreen finished. They entered the tower, anyway. The lower levels were empty, just mold, broken equipment, and claw marks etched into the walls. Human-sized, some deeper, others inhuman. Vreen stopped before a panel. Something behind it breathed. They didn't check it. Upward they climbed, each creak of the metal stairwells groaning like a warning. When they reached the third floor, Saren stood by the window, staring into the forest with her back to them. She didn't move when they entered. "Identify," Cowrick said, weapon trained. She turned. Her eyes bled black. The thing wearing Saren's shape smiled. It was too wide, too confident. It stepped toward them. Vreen fired. The shot hit point blank, but the creature didn't fall. It absorbed the energy, the skin rippling like water. It advanced, mimicking Saren's voice pitch perfect. "Don't leave me. Please. Don't leave me again." Vreen screamed and shot again, then again, until the mimic twitched and collapsed, oozing something too dark to be blood. But it wasn't dead. It blinked, reformed. Cowrick grabbed Vreen, and they ran higher. The tower groaned under their weight, but they reached the top, a flat, exposed platform with a dish humming gently above. The forest spread below them like an ocean of green teeth. In the clearing beyond, Cowrick saw more figures gathering. Mimics, all wearing the faces of the lost. Irix, Tallow, Saren, even unfamiliar ones, other scouts, older uniforms, rotting and twisted. "We're not getting out," Vreen said. "No," Cowrick answered. "But we can leave something behind." He pulled the core from beacon, connected it to his own scanner, and started recording. This is Lieutenant Cowrix of Galactic Scout Division 12. All personnel presume Kia. Sector Echo, 89 is hostile. Not empty, cursed. Bioweapons exist. Adaptive mimics. Learning predators. Do not attempt rescue. Do not investigate. Quarantine zone must remain sealed. Vreen stepped beside him, her face lit by the screen glow. If this gets out, it won't, but someone might hear it. Below, the forest began to shift. The trees bent inward, drawn toward the tower like iron to a magnet. The figures swarmed, unhurried, confident. "You ready?" he asked. She nodded. Together, they armed the beacon's core. It hummed louder, charging a burst. Not a message, an overload. Enough to light the sky, enough to scar the earth. The mimics began to climb. As the countdown ticked, Vreen glanced at him. "We mocked the warnings." Cowrix smiled. "Then let this be the last laugh." The screen flashed. White light consumed the tower. For a moment, everything went still, and then silence. Years later, a human child walking the edge of a restricted forest found a burned piece of metal embedded in stone. Fused to it were melted characters, barely legible. She brushed the dirt away with small fingers and read the final line etched in alloy. "If they scream at dusk, don't answer." She looked up. The wind whistled softly. The trees stood quiet. And far off, barely audible, something laughed.